Okay, everybody, so I'm going to do a little workout here in my highly advanced gym. So one of the things I'm trying to show with this workout is that you don't need a great gym or a whole lot of equipment to get a really killer workout using the high intensity training principles, using a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of know-how garnered over many years. You don't need all of those years if you tune into this channel. Okay, so you can see here I'm starting with a wall sit, not a normal wall sit though. Okay, I'm going to be doing this in overcoming isometric form. So I'm pushing up against the wall as hard as I can. Very similar to the way a back squat would feel. You're going to push through the heels as you do this. Make sure that you are getting your butts engaged, and you can see my elbows on the outside of my knees, pushing my knees in, which makes my knees push back, and that is helping to activate the glutes to make sure that I get all those leg muscles involved. Okay, now for this workout, I'm basically only going to be using some household items and some adjustable dumbbells, which you will see make their entrance right here. Okay, so these are the Dumbells. I really like them. Very compact, very good. So I'm starting out with Bulgarian split squats here. These are really a fantastic exercise. If you don't both love and hate this exercise, it's because you're not doing them enough. They are going to hit your legs, pretty much all of the muscles. It's going to get your hamstring, your glutes, your quads, pretty much everything. Not so much on the calves, but really fantastic exercise. Okay, you can see very slow and controlled with my motion, not locking out at the top, stopping just short of lockout so that the tension stays in the muscle. Okay, and I reach failure there, put the weights down, take a couple breaths, and continue going with only my body weight. So this is a way to sort of, not superset, but drop set, to do a drop set on the Bulgarian split squat. And I reach failure again and try to hold it for as long as I can. Then I'm going to go back to the top and sort of try to do a slow, controlled negative as much as I possibly can, and it doesn't last very long. Okay, I'm going to switch over and I'm going to do the other leg now after I fix my stool, which was wobbling around. Now, you may be thinking, oh, this guy doesn't have giant legs. You're right, I don't have giant legs, but I train the hell out of them. I always do them first because I want them to grow more than my other muscles. And what you'll find is that individuals have different muscle groups that are stubborn for them. I have super long legs. I'm 196 centimeters tall, 6'5". And for tall guys, I've noticed it's pretty hard to grow your legs. So don't come at me with you don't train legs. I dare you to do a leg training workout with me and say that I don't train my legs. So there, I've addressed it. I know that they are naturally skinny, and it doesn't mean they're not strong as hell. I can kick pretty freaking hard, and I jump high too. Things that I know to be true in this world. So same thing on this side. I worked through it with the dumbbells first, reached failure, then went with body weight, and now I'm going to reset at the top and try to hold for as long as I can after a couple breaths there. So this is what I call a synergy set. It starts with an overcoming isometric, then it moves into dynamic movement, and then into another isometric, but this time an isometric hold. Okay, and on each one I'm basically going as hard as I can, and it is a very effective, very time efficient way to train. Okay, so that was my first real leg exercise. So next thing I'm going to get after is the straight leg deadlifts, or Romanian deadlifts. Not exactly sure which one you'd classify these as, but I'm going to do them with dumbbells to show that you don't need to have a big setup or a big barbell. If you push it right, especially if you do Romanian deadlifts after something like I just did there, like the Bulgarian split squat, you'll find that you're already pretty well taxed. Okay, and pay close attention to the way that I do these. So dumbbells go in front, and you basically just slide them down the front of your legs, making sure that your chest stays sort of up or active and your low back stays neutral. And you want to go down as low as you can with your low back staying in that neutral reinforced position. Okay, so you can see a little bend in my knees, so probably more of a Romanian deadlift than a straight leg deadlift. But I'm feeling a big stretch. I mean, look how deep I'm going there, right? And that's one nice thing about using dumbbells for these. You can keep them very close to your shins, and you can go very deep, much deeper than you can if you have plates on a bar, unless you're doing it deficit style. Okay. Now I think I reached failure here, and I'm basically just going to pull against the weights for an additional few seconds to make sure that I just crush those hamstrings well. And I can attest to the fact that 2 days after I did this exercise is when I'm recording this audio, and my butt is still sore from those Bulgarians and from those hamstrings. I decided to turn on the light because I think it might make me look cooler on my muscles and stuff, but I think later on I decided to turn it back off because I'm not so sure that it's having the effect that I want. So one set there, but obviously with a real extended inroading period at the end. When I reached failure, I just kept pulling on it, just kept pulling on it, just kept pulling on it. You could certainly do these where you sort of change from straight leg or Romanian to a normal deadlift, lift them back up, and then do a couple more negatives. That's one of the things I typically do, but my legs are already feeling relatively fried from the stuff that I did, the Bulgarians and the wall sit, isometric wall sit. Okay, sissy squats. Make sure that I hit the front of my legs preferentially, and you can see these sissy squats. All you need is something to hold on to here, and do them nice and slow. Make sure you don't lock out at the top. Go real deep. Okay, and what I'm going to do here, since I reached failure pretty quickly, is I'm going to do like a Hindu squat, push myself up, and then I'll just do negatives with the sissy squat. So down and then Hindu squat up, which is much easier. Okay, work the negative range of motion and basically go until I can't. See, I can't even Hindu squat my way back up here. So I know that I probably torched my legs well enough there. Okay. Yep, I'm tired. Oh, but no, I do something else. And what do? Horse stance. Nice deep horse stance. I realize after a few seconds that I got to move that chair or else you won't be able to see what I'm doing. But you can see my elbows on the outside there. Put my elbows on the outside to force my butt to push my knees out. So working that glute med, side of your butt as well, and really getting that thing involved. And I'm basically going to stay here for as long as I'm physically capable until my muscles just give out, and down I go. Ooh, that was pretty tiring. Okay, so that's what exhaustion of legs look like. And I'm even crazier. So I'm now going to do a wall sit because it provides a little bit more support, the friction of the wall. So see how long I can hold that. See, this is how you can mix in various kinds of isometrics, whether it's overcoming, pushing against something that's immovable, or you can use this yielding kind where you're trying to hold a position against resistance. In this case, it's just my body weight's resistance, but adding those in can add a lot of meaningful time under load for your muscles and can allow you to really make sure that you deeply fatigue them. And at this point, my legs can't even hold me up. So I think I judged, all right, that's probably enough. Probably crushed those things enough. Okay, so we're going to switch over. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hit some shoulders, work on my shoulders a little bit. The exercise order here, the rationale behind it, is that the muscles that you want to develop the most should be trained earlier in the workout, so that they are freshest, because there's systemic fatigue that happens as well. So I'm switching to shoulders, and here I'm starting with an isometric press into the wall. This is a shoulder press, okay, pressing up into the wall to make sure that my shoulders get a bunch of blood into them, that the joints are prepared for the work that's about to come. it's not going to be heavy weights, but I really like doing isometric, overcoming isometrics before dynamic lifts. It fatigues the muscles, makes the set take less time, preferentially improves strength as opposed to just hypertrophy. Okay, and so you can see me doing Arnold presses here. These are great because they follow the natural sort of motion of your shoulder. Your shoulders don't move just straight up and down. They're meant to move in this sort of twisting way. And once I reach failure there, I'm going to switch to just a neutral grip shoulder press there. Okay, trying not to rest for too long, if at all, at the bottom, and avoiding lockout at the top. Okay, I reach a sticking point there, and I just push into it, push into it, push into it until it just fails down on me, right? Okay, but I'm doing this as like a giant set, so I'm not done yet. I'm going to hit my shoulders now by doing these upright row movement. Now, the upright row is a great exercise, assuming you don't do it with a barbell, because doing it with a barbell puts your shoulder in a very precarious position, especially if you're using a lot of weight. But the freedom afforded by doing it with dumbbells or with a resistance band, or even with a kettlebell with like a towel looped through the handle, something like that, avoids that. Okay, so here you can see me making sure that I tack on some negatives at the end to really fatigue those muscles. And I can, like, even with the help of my legs, it's tough to jack it up high enough or hold it for any appreciable length of time. So I know that's probably enough. Now I'm going to do Lou raises. So again, this is a kind of shoulder exercise that allows your muscles, your joints, to move freely as they're sort of built to move. Okay, and I finish that up with some partial lat raises. Partials on the lat raise are something that I am fond of because of the way the strength curve of your shoulders is, right? You're so much stronger at the bottom where they're not working as hard against gravity than they are at the top. And so to really fatigue them, adding those partials at the end can help a lot. So I went from Lou raises, which are full spectrum around the world sort of movement, to just little partials at the end to tax out my shoulders. Okay, now I think we're going to move on to some chest work, I believe, is next. So again, the exercise order here is determined by which muscles I want to put the most emphasis on. So I want to, first of all, get my legs bigger and stronger, and then shoulders next, because it gives you that nice V-taper look, increases the sort of the attractiveness of your silhouette, all those sorts of things. Okay, and I think I'm moving the camera here so y'all be able to see me a little bit better as I do my push-up work. So I have handles here, not because they're necessary. You certainly don't need handles, but the reason I have them is because, one, it's a little bit easier on your wrists, especially when you weigh a lot. Like I'm like 220 or 225 or something like that right now, and I don't have particularly robust joints. My wrists and my ankles are kind of on the thin side, so I do need to protect them, but also it's just a more natural sort of direction to move. Okay, so here what I'm doing is an isometric squeeze for my chest. I'm squeezing my legs together and really, like almost like a decline fly or something like that. And the reason I'm doing this is because I want to preferentially fatigue my chest here, right? I just hit my shoulders, so now I'm really trying to get that chest activated and working and pre-fatigue it and all those sorts of things. So I'm going to use these handles, nice neutral grip there, keeping my elbows tight to my body. And I'm actually going to do a strange kind of push-up here you might not have seen before, where you're not on your toes, you're actually on the top of your legs. And what this allows you to do is really keep tension through your lower back and through your butt. There's no sagging when you do them this way. It's much harder to sag, and these are a lot harder, you'll find, because of that. So they may not look as tough, but they are tough. They are very tough. Make sure you keep tension throughout the lower portions of your body as you're doing them. Okay, I'm going nice and deep to make sure I get a good stretch on the chest. Especially I find that with chest exercises, getting a good stretch in the bottom range and working through that really does help a lot with growing the chest. Okay, so I failed. I'm going to keep pushing through. Can't do it, can't do it. So now I go straight to knees, and it's a sort of a drop set there, body weight drop set. Okay, you'll see here my low back rounds a little bit, sort of concavely the way that it wasn't before. And that's something to be careful of. You want to make sure that your low back can have a little bit of concaveness to it, but you want to definitely have tension through your hamstrings and glutes, even when you're doing knee push-ups like this. I actually really like the angle that this gives you, these knee push-ups, because it's a sort of a mix between a normal push-up, which is a horizontal chest press, and a dip, which would be like pushing down. And I'm so tired now that I can't even really pick myself up, but I'm also trying to get a stretch on my chest there. So that's why I stayed down there for a few more seconds. And actually, I'm going to pull these out again and do just the I think the stretch part of the exercise. So this is what's called loaded stretching, right? You're putting a load on the muscles, you're stretching them, and you're trying to resist the stretch. So I'm trying to put, it's kind of like an overcoming isometric, but in a super lengthened position. So where you're very weak, and it can really force a lot of blood into the muscles. And usually you want to hold these for, at least 10 seconds, maybe 10 to 15. At least. Okay, so that pretty much crushed my chest. Didn't take very long there. And next up we got reverse grip press, I think. So I'm going to go pretty light on these. You don't need to go very heavy on these, but basically obviously it's going to hit your front deltoids, your front shoulders as well. But using that reverse grip also makes sure that you're going to hit the upper chest. So just because I wanted a little bit more, I wanted to touch my upper chest a little bit more. That's what I had tagged onto the end there. And now I'm doing an isometric pull-up, or basically an isometric pull-up, right? Pulling against the floor. Just imagining I would be doing a pull-up and getting a nice stretch on my back, my mid-back, my lats and stuff, while pulling as hard as I can against it. So again, that sort of synergy set idea of starting with overcoming isometrics. So now I'm going to do back, and just going to be a basic dumbbell row. So you can see me bend over here. I'm going to make sure that my low back is neutral and supported. Okay. And then I'm going to try to pull those up nice and high. I'm going to focus on where my elbows are going, making sure my elbows don't flare out, that they're down and back. My shoulders are down and back, and my lats are really doing the work here. Now this is really going to hit. Obviously your low back is having to support, so there's an isometric contraction happening there. But the dynamic movement is caused by your lats, the mid-back muscles, your traps, the upper back, and your rear deltoids. So anything, if I missed my rear shoulder muscles when doing the shoulder exercises previously, this would give them a little bit more attention. So you can see nice and controlled here. At the end here, I'm allowing it to sink a little bit at the bottom there, but you can see I'm trying to keep tension on the muscles most of the time. Okay, and then I go straight into shrugs, because even if my lats failed, my traps will usually have a bit more strength in them. So I'm going to shrug those up, and again, nice and slow and controlled. Not too much of a rest or anything at the bottom. Though for these, you are getting a stretch on the traps when you are at the bottom. So I think it's okay to go a little bit low on them. And I'm going to push this set all the way until I just have no hope of lifting that weight again. All right, so now I'm gonna do basically body weight pullovers. So often pullovers are done with, like a lat pull down bar, or with dumbbell overhead while you're on, or not over, yeah, overhead, I guess, while your back is on a bench. But you can do these with your body weight. And I'm using an ab roller, but you don't need an ab roller to do these. You can just do them with a towel on the ground, just sliding along the ground. The key here is to not move, not allow your butt to move at all. Your butt's got to stay where it is so that your lats and your sort of upper body, rather than your core muscles and your abs, are doing the work to pull it in. Again, I'm making sure that I get a nice stretch at the end there. Obviously, I failed quickly, but pullovers are a great exercise for your just overall upper body size and strength. They also help a lot with that V-taper. I'm a big fan of them, and the stretch you can feel in your rib cage when you're doing them, it feels like it's getting muscles that other exercises don't really attend to all that effectively. Okay, so we're on to arms now. So I'm going to start this off with fixing the camera, but then I'm going to use this belt to get an isometric curl going. Okay, now you don't need a belt, a rope or whatever you have will work. You'll see I'll cross it over here in order to do them, and the reason for that is it's going to force me to sort of try to turn my palms up a little bit harder on the movement. So your biceps obviously move your hand closer to your shoulder, right? But they also turn your hand from facing palm down to facing palm up. So if you can do a movement where your hand is both moving towards your shoulder or trying to move towards your shoulder and trying to turn up, you're going to activate the bicep in two different ways. So I did a couple seconds of an isometric curl there, and that is going to lead straight into dumbbell curls. So I'm going to grab those dumbbells again, and you'll see that I do them according to the principles that I've been suggesting you all try here, which is, not allowing it to relax at the bottom. There's still tension in that muscle at the bottom. Okay, curling it up, no relaxation at the top. Nice, slow, and controlled rhythm. And just smashing on those biceps. This is another one where I really like to do a sort of giant set approach because it's very convenient with the weights. This sort of bicep curl is one of the harder versions of a bicep curl that you can do. And so when I reach failure on it, there's going to be some easy options to go into to advance the set. Now you'll also see that halfway through this set, I switch from doing full range to doing partial range, which is actually a sort of a J rep style. So I do the middle portion of the rep, then I do the top portion of the rep, and then I do the bottom portion of the rep. So here I'm doing just the bottom portion of the rep. So the reason we do it in that order is because the middle portion of the rep is the hardest, the top portion is the second hardest, and the bottom portion is the easiest. And by structuring them in this way, reaching failure essentially 3 different times, you are making sure that the muscle reaches failure a lot, gets a lot of stimulus, but also that you're not limited by your strength curve. Okay, goes straight into alternating hammer curls, because hammer curls hit the bicep. They hit a different part of the bicep. They actually hit a sort of muscle that underlies the bicep that adds to your arm thickness. So you want to make sure that you're doing both normal curls and hammer curls. And additionally, hammer curls are going to work your grip a little bit more. Okay, so I basically reached failure again, and then I'm going to go with a slow negative at the end there, resisting it for as long as I'm able. And then we finish with a loaded stretch. So here you can see another synergy set example, and this is a full synergy set. We went from overcoming isometric to dynamic. We did a couple different dynamic movements. Then we went to a yielding isometric, trying to hold the weight, and then we went to a stretch at the end. And so that's a 4-part synergy set. That's what I call a home run set, because you're touching four different kinds of stimulus. Okay, tricep press downs here. The wall is not ideal for this, but it was close by and I didn't want to move the camera again. Okay, so isometrics to start, and then I'm basically just going to do these sorts of tricep based push-ups on the wall. Now, these might look super easy, and they can be super easy if you let them. But if you create a bunch of tension in your body, right, and use tension in your legs and feet to resist your ability to do these, you can make them very hard, and you'll see how quickly I reach failure on these. It's not because my triceps are weak. I have pretty strong, pretty big triceps for my frame, and I'm still able to reach failure relatively quickly using these. Now, of course, you could do these on the ground or change the angle that you're coming at them, and it would make it more difficult potentially. Or if I brought my feet in further, it would make them easier. But it's also good. These are cool because they sort of work that in-between angle. So like tricep press downs and overhead extensions are the most common tricep exercises you see. But this is a sort of hybrid between them where there's a good stretch on the triceps at the very bottom, at the bottom of the rep, and then you get them really squeezed at the top as well, which, if you're doing overhead extensions or just normal extensions, you get one or the other, but usually not both. Okay, so that's going to do basically all of the major muscle groups. So what I'm going to do next is a couple of, this is an active plank. So you can see how my butt is tucked and my low back is really neutral and flat there. Basically, I'm trying to bring my hands to my feet. This is called an active plank, or earth crusher is the name I prefer, because I'm basically trying to crush the earth here. And I'm also, you can see, rotating my hips a little bit while I do it, so that not only am I trying to, working it in a straight angle, but there's also a bit of a transverse angle. There's a bit of a twisting angle to it, which, you want to get the side part, the obliques part of your abs as well, and also for athletic endeavors and stuff. That kind of strength is important. But I'm doing it's an isometric, overcoming isometric as hard as you can. And so anytime you see somebody do a plank for 5 minutes or something like that, they're basically just working their hip flexors. This is the kind of plank that we should be doing. People who do it, it is way harder and way more intense. And I recommend it highly. All right, and I'm gonna, I think, switch here to hitting my neck now. Neck is a very undertrained thing, but especially for those of us who do any sort of martial arts or anything like that, really for any human being, it's an important thing to train, since your brain is protected by your neck, and your brain is just about the most important organ that you have. But especially for martial artists who might be taking shots to the head or using their head in things like a grappling situation, training your neck is a non-negotiable. So I'm just going to do this with overcoming isometrics, pushing into my thumbs there, then pushing back against my hands. Oh, what happened there? It looks like it skipped to the end. I'm sorry about this. May have stopped recording. Nope, we still got it. Okay, and I'm doing the sides. I'm going to do the sides of my neck. Sorry if the audio got all weird there. So basically, pull your head to the side and push back against the pull. Pretty self-explanatory, but you're working 4 angles, right? Pushing forward, pushing back, and pushing to each side. And that is generally going to do the job for your neck. Now, the last thing I'm going to do here is a bridge, trying to do a bridge hold. And it's not going to last very long because I'm exhausted at this point. But the reason I'm doing this is because I haven't really hit my low back in a sort of flexible or bent position. I worked it with the Romanian deadlifts in an isometric contraction supporting the weight. But I want to make sure that I get it in a more athletic sort of position here, because a neutral back is actually not that useful for any sort of athletics other than weightlifting or powerlifting, something like that. So throwing in some bridges at the end is going to help with the pliable strength of my lower back. Probably could have put those in a little bit earlier, but should I? Okay, so there you have it, under 30 minutes, and I added a bunch of stuff at the end there. There were also, you could see some breaks with me adjusting the camera and things like that. But that was a pretty killer workout. I was sore for a couple days afterwards, and is what you can do with just some adjustable dumbbells and some things around your house. I hope that's helpful for everybody. Thanks for watching.